28 years ago, 27, 28 years ago, I kind of stepped off the corporate and the tech kind of platform, if you will, to say, I want to do my own stuff. I then helped take a company public. That stock went from, 25 cents to $50. It gave me time to pause and say, do I want to keep making money and making more money, or do I want to do something different? I wanted to do a conference or a retreat for the top 100 people in business to business technology. So I started this event and issued invitations, and I found out nobody wanted to attend.
Wow.
So all the CEOs who I invited would pay lots of money. Today, they pay $10,000 per person to attend the retreat. Recently, the nonprofit chosen this year is an organization called Karya. It's an Indian organization founded by a young entrepreneur who came from a basti in New Delhi, living next to a railroad track, to going to Stanford.
Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Pitch Cafe podcast. I'm more than fortunate here today to be interviewing one of the most prominent Indian American personalities the world has seen. The reason I say it is because he has been most influential in not only upholding the brand India, but also he has nurtured the startup ecosystem, the venture ecosystem, and the giving ecosystem for the Indian Americans here. Based out of Silicon Valley, MR is synonymous of Sandhill. He is synonymous of the B2B SaaS ecosystem with sustainability and diversity and inclusion. He is also backing several initiatives in philanthropy. So probably one of the most mentioned Indian names in the Silicon Valley and beyond ecosystem. I'm very fortunate to be here with the tech maven, the most scintillating MR Rangaswami. MR, welcome to Pitch Cafe podcast.
Thank you, Vidya. Great to be on your show.
Fantastic. So MR, I want to start with your journey. You're backing the Indiaspora ecosystem. You're the founder of Indiaspora ecosystem. You have been recently in a conference with Vinod Khosla, one of the biggest names in the startup and giving ecosystem. It's very hard to pin you down. You've been in 5 different places in the last week. You were with Sri Ravi Shankar in a leadership retreat. And I think soon your own Indiaspora and your B2B SaaS leadership conference is coming up this week. So who is MR? Who am I speaking with? Who is the person behind all this magic?
Well, that's very flattering of you to say that. But, my journey started here 40 years ago in Silicon Valley. I now live in San Francisco, but I started in Silicon Valley and keep moving north. Soon I'll be in Marin County and beyond. But I started 40 years ago accidentally in Silicon Valley with a startup in 1982. Okay? And grew in the industry. I've seen the likes of Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison and Scott McNealy and all the big names in enterprise and consumer technology, right? That was my upbringing. But in 28 years ago, 27, 28 years ago, I kind of stepped off the corporate and the tech kind of platform, if you will, to say, I want to do my own stuff.
Yeah, but why did you do that? You were thriving in that ecosystem.
It was great. It was great. I had a terrific career at companies like Oracle. I then helped take a company public. That stock went from, 25 cents to $50. It gave me time to pause and say, do I want to keep making money and making more money, or do I want to do something different? That was the reasoning behind me kind of stepping out of the startup ecosystem, and getting into something quite different. And when that's what I did.
But you've been named the man with the Midas touch as one of the top 100 investors. How did that happen?
So when I got out of the tech life, if you will, of being a founder or an executive and so forth, I decided to do something different. I decided to help startups. So this was in 1995, 96. There was no category called angel investing, right? So I was one of the first pioneers of angel investing at that time. And started working with different companies. And that's how I got on the Midas list. It was total luck. I'd invested in some good companies. They went public. And of course, you get on the list. But that was not my intent. My intent was to help startup founders be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my initial journey. But soon I got into the act of giving. And that happened when I wanted to bring the whole ecosystem together in an event. I wanted to do a conference or a retreat for the top 100 people in business to business technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I started this event and issued invitations, and I found out nobody wanted to attend. They said, "We have too many conferences like this. Why are you different? Why should we come?"
Mm-hmm.
And that led me to think through what I wanted to do, which included what I want to do in life. Was it to make money or give back? And that's when I decided I would create the first nonprofit conference.
Wow.
So all these CEOs who I invited would pay lots of money. Today, they pay $10,000 per person to attend the retreat.
Wow.
We take all the profits and give it to nonprofits. I don't make a single penny out of it. So when I made the business model one of giving, it's become a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we just finished the 15th retreat where we collected over $200,000 for nonprofits. And over the 15 years, we've given away, including our own funds we've collected through the retreat and others adding to it, over $20 million to nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that was my first act of giving, was to make my retreat a nonprofit event.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And I did that because no one wanted to come to the event.
So tell me, what kept you going? What was the intuition that said this is going to work? Let me go for it. Because this is tough. When angel investing is new, it is. I know what it was, because SPAC was new and SPACs are not working anymore. What if you had failed, right? What if angel investing had failed? What if giving? So what kept you going?
Well, I mean, luckily, angel investing didn't fail me. That's why I don't still have a job 28 years later, because I've done 150 deals, and a few of them had good exits. Many of them have failed, but overall, it's kept me from not having a job. So I can thank God for that. So that was my angel journey, and I still meet at least 2 entrepreneurs a week as part of my giving. I meet 2 entrepreneurs every week. In the old days, it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Now it's mainly on Zoom. But I do give them feedback on their startup, connect them to potential investors, and once in a while, I'll invest myself. So I still continue that. And over 28 years, I think I've met one-on-one with over 5,000 entrepreneurs and founders.
Wow.
So that's one way of giving, is to meet, give feedback, help them, right? One way is to invest in the companies. And so that's been my journey for this longer time. I like to meet people and connect people. And that's why I started this enterprise retreat that I talked about, where we've given away over $20 million in the 15 editions we've had of that retreat, right? So I found that so gratifying to get nonprofits into this retreat, have them present to these CEOs of companies, have these CEOs mentor them, advise them, become board members, and actually give more money to them. I found that to be more gratifying than anything I've ever done.
Yeah, I love the way you're doing it. You're bringing the right stakeholders together in an environment which is extremely positive, and it's healing them. The kind of people is that where you invited Sri Ravi Shankar? Is that one of your?
No, that's quite different. So that is something very different. But this is just my tech journey of giving. Now the other journey of giving started when I did Indiaspora. I started Indiaspora 11 years ago. And the reason I did it was I found there was no community of diaspora that brought everybody together. There's a community for entrepreneurs, there's a community for lawyers, a community for doctors. Then there are ethnic communities like the Gujarati Samaj or the Tamil Sangam and so forth. But nobody brought everybody together. And so Indiaspora's intent was to bring doctors, lawyers, academics, authors, tech CEOs, VCs, everybody together to be a force for good. And that's why we started Indiaspora. And key part of Indiaspora is to be a force for good. That means philanthropy, giving back, seva. These are all things that are not new to Indians, right? That's built into our DNA. Our ethos is all about seva, right? So that's why we started Indiaspora. And that journey got us to really focus on philanthropy, focus on giving, focus on helping each other. And so that's been the journey now for the last 11 years. And
So,
in that context,
mhm,
we've been helping nonprofits, we've been helping different organizations amplify their messages about how they give. It was in that context that I met Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, and he was nice enough to invite me to be on the organizing committee for the World Culture Festival. Again, this is something I'm so excited about because just think of this. Someone dreams that they're going to have a culture festival in Washington, D.C., and
yeah,
they dream they're going to get 1 million people to show up in the mall between the Washington Monument and Capitol Hill.
wow.
And they don't ask anything of anyone.
Mm,
This whole effort of World Culture Festival was run by 10,000 volunteers.
amazing.
Nobody got paid. Everybody jumped in, and over 3 days, they got 1.1 million people to show up to attend the concerts and performances of unity and inclusion and peace and harmony. It was a drug-free, alcohol-free, smoke-free event, family-friendly event. Over the 3 days, over 1.1 million people showed up in a beautiful atmosphere. Everything was left clean after the 3 days. Everybody enjoyed themselves. The economic impact to Washington, D.C. was $60 million. There were 60 performances with over 90 countries being represented in the performances, and people from 180 countries attended these concerts and events. Just think of this beautiful thing happening in DC, all run by volunteers. That's why I said I'll be part of the committee, because no one got paid to do any of this stuff. That's the beauty of harnessing the diaspora to be a force for good. It can be to having a concert about unity or charity. It can be a day of giving. Like Indiaspora has created an organization called India Philanthropy Alliance. They had
Right.
an India Giving Day this week, one day of just online giving. You just go put your credit card, there's a list of organizations you give. In
Mhm.
one day, we collected $1.4 million just through credit cards.
Oh my gosh. This is
So these,
unbelievable. Mhm.
exactly, these are different forms of giving, and I love being engaged with these kinds of initiatives to help the causes.
So MR, so tell me through this giving journey, what are some of the most unforgettable moments? I know that every moment you live in, you make it unforgettable. But tell me all those pivotal points where you saw that the tech and the giving initiatives were merging because so much wealth is being created in tech. And here you are, people like you are making these tech communities aware of giving. Where were some pivotal points where you saw this going to the next level?
Yeah, it started basically, Vidya, with looking at our community. We're the richest ethnic community in the United States. We
Absolutely.
make 2.5 times per annum of the annual income of the average American. Okay, 2.5 times. We make 120,000. The average American makes 55,000 a year. In Silicon Valley, we probably average 250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Just think of the amount of wealth being created by the community, right? Which
Mhm.
means we have the responsibility to give back even more than the average American, right? We make so much money. What do we do with the money? When we die, we don't take anything, right? So we got to give back in a meaningful way. And
Yeah.
that was at the heart of what I do. And when I did this conference, this enterprise retreat for charity, that showed me how we can connect the tech community and CEOs with nonprofits. For
Yeah.
example, recently, the nonprofit chosen this year is an organization called Kadia.
Mhm.
It's an Indian organization founded by a young entrepreneur who came from a basti in New Delhi, living next to a railroad track, to
Mhm.
going to Stanford and
Mhm.
starting a nonprofit that works with AI. So they bring AI to the local villager in India to use their cell phone to do work that makes them so much money. You don't even need to leave your house. A woman in a village in Karnataka
Yeah.
can use her cell phone to, let's say, repeat sentences in Kannada. And
Amazing.
those language models are used in AI. And people are paying big bucks for people
Yeah.
to start talking in different regional languages so that they can be used in LLMs to produce great AI results, right?
Mhm.
This nonprofit is doing phenomenal work, and we brought them. And so this is the intersection of a nonprofit and tech,
Yeah.
working with tech executives and CEOs. It's a beautiful relationship. When you see that blossom, that gratifies me.
You know, MR, when you share stories like this, it brings one quote to my mind. Going forward, every startup is going to be a social entrepreneurial startup. Every for-profit work is going to be for good. Do you subscribe to that vision?
Absolutely. I used to work with Mark Benioff at Oracle. Both of us started in the same company. Of
Yeah.
course, he's gone much further than I have. But Mark's philosophy when he started Salesforce was the 1% solution. 1 + 1 + 1. Give 1% of your stock to a nonprofit foundation, give 1% of your profits to nonprofits, and most importantly, 1% of employees' time. They spend 2 days a year just working with any nonprofit of their choice.
Amazing.
Okay. So I firmly believe every startup needs to implement the 1% solution at the least. They can obviously give a lot more, but at least start by giving 1% of everything you have, right? And now thousands of companies are using Mark Benioff's model, and I commend him for starting that process, being the catalyst, and amplifying that message. So I think any one of your listeners who has a nonprofit I implore them, they should implement this model at the least.
Fantastic. So, Emma, on that note, can you give us a few ways that we can partner with your giving or philanthropy initiatives this season? I know that you were in a conference with Vinod Khosla and others. I'm a big fan of Atul Sathija's work from Nudge Foundation. I worked with them many times through the COVID scenario. I see what they were able to do. So, tell us how we can engage with you through your own communities and through other communities in giving season. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, with philanthropy, Indiaspora, because of our concept of giving, organizes an annual philanthropy summit where we bring nonprofits and donors together in one area, in one place.
When is this happening again?
This just happened a couple of weeks ago at Stanford.
Oh, yes, of course.
That's where Vinod Khosla came and spoke. Arun Majumdar, who is the dean of the Stanford Sustainability School, talked about stuff. This year, the focus was climate. Because climate, we believe, is the most underfunded NGO group, whether it's in India or the US. So we wanted to highlight that climate change is real. Climate change needs to be acted on today. And so we brought together a lot of startups and a lot of ideas around climate and how the diaspora can help these kinds of causes, right? And so that's the context.
Yeah, MR, this is such an intangible space, the carbon footprint that large organizations who are making a lot of profit are creating. Companies like Zara, their unit metric is so low. How are they managing such profit margins? What did you, gist of the whole event, what did you guys say? How did you bring tech to philanthropy for climate tech? What was the takeaway there?
Yeah, so I think the thing is that there's so many tech solutions that can be applied to climate, especially now with the advent of AI. AI is going to be used in such a key way in the future to solve the climate crisis. So I am very optimistic. The use of LLMs and these new tools and technologies available to us will help us speed solutions in climate, right? For example, we can use AI to say, prioritize the top 5 problems we need to solve. And then use AI to solve those specific problems, right? Give us answers, give us solutions. So I think the intersection of tech and climate is even more integral as we move forward, because I think they're going to help really hasten the speed with which solutions are coming up. And that's why, someone like Arun Majumdar, who runs the Stanford Sustainability Program, it's funded by John Doerr, who is a venture capitalist, to the tune of $1 billion. So it's not a small gift. It's a major gift to help solve this crisis. So money can be brought, but also people like Vinod Khosla, who are so smart, can bring their focus to bear, attention to bear on solving the problem. So I'm very optimistic by doing our philanthropy summit and focusing it this year on climate, we can speed up solutions in that space.
Wonderful. So on that note, before we wrap up, I want to ask, if we want to partner with you as a nonprofit or we want to donate to the Indiaspora initiatives, what is the best way to do that?
I think a couple of things. We have a sister organization called Give US, which is a subsidiary of Give India, which is just now called Give. It's give.do. So give.do is a partner to Indiaspora in terms of giving to India. Okay. So if you want any contributions to be made to India, that's a great platform to go to. They've vetted hundreds of organizations in India that can accept money, foreign money, and so forth. So that's a great way to do it. Indiaspora also has a great newsletter, which helps everyone keep in touch with us. So indiaspora.org, we have a newsletter that comes out every week. It gives you all the latest. It gives you information on how to keep in touch with us. And
Yeah.
our community does both private events for our members, and members is invitation only. And then we do a lot of public forums virtually. So again, we can absolutely invite everybody to participate in our public forums, to contribute to causes, whether it's around climate, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, and the like. And also, if you're interested in joining Indiaspora as a member, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm very active there, and other social media platforms to find out more, to engage with us more. Indiaspora also has lots of content on the website. So many, many, many ways for the diaspora to engage. And it's not Vidya just in the US. We have members and chapters in Singapore, Dubai, Australia, Canada, UK, and India as well. So we are now a global organization to be a force for good.
Wonderful. I'm just speechless. It's just your vibe, early morning. I'm just I'm getting goosebumps just even listening to your your inner drive, your initiative. So I have to ask you this question, this wrap up question. Last evening, I did a podcast with a Harvard student who is sending 5,000 books to libraries in Africa and India for the underprivileged kids. She wants to send them to 40 new locations. When I look at kids like her, and next day I come and speak to somebody like you, I want to ask you, somebody who wants to have a career in nonprofit, who wants to make a life out of giving, what is your advice to align them to this very early? And I was also at the MIT admissions session. They are so clear that they want to be for good, for profit. Whatever they do, they care about sustainability. So how can people like this come and make this a career with organizations like Indiaspora?
Great question. Again, one of the initiatives Indiaspora does is to tap into the energy of young people. So
Yeah.
we have an initiative called Diaspora Next for the next generation of diaspora. So
Mhm.
that's a very big effort on our part as
Mhm.
well. So there'll be a lot more information coming about our Diaspora Next program. But I think the next generation can help in so many ways. They bring energy, new ideas, new aspirations, new solutions, and so they're going to be an integral part of us moving forward.
Mhm.
And so we're actually setting up a completely special initiative to involve and include the next generation into these efforts as well.
Yeah, and last thought on that is college credits, high school or volunteering credits. These are all things. I mean, the people I interviewed, the kids they cared about, they start like that, but later on they get hooked into this whole giving initiative. It's very addictive. It's very gratifying. So I was wondering if you thought about those things, partnering with organizations directly.
Absolutely. I think there are two groups of people I meet that want to give back, and
Yeah,
we've got to get the third group that's not doing as much into it. So I find young people are absolutely eager and enthusiastic to give back in some form or fashion, whether it's
yeah,
small service on weekends or mentoring a child or whatever be it. And then the next group I find who are very active are people who are close to retirement,
yeah,
people who are trying to find a purpose in life much later on. The
yeah,
group that we need to really engage are the middle group, the,
yeah,
the ones who are 30 to 50, 55 years old, who are caught up in their day-to-day lives of family, work,
yeah,
paying their mortgage, doing things.
yeah,
That's the group that really needs our focus in the future, is
yeah,
to get the people in the middle to be
yeah.
more active. And I haven't figured out the solution to that yet, but working on it.
You got me hooked in. You did. So there's one extra vote on your side today after this
Exactly.
amazing podcast, and you are going to get all the votes of the listeners of this podcast. This was a fantastic, scintillating, amazing podcast. What an amazing way to start a Monday morning here. Thanks, MR, for your valuable time. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I think the only mantra that I use is help people without an agenda. So I urge everyone, in your daily lives, even if you help one person a day without having an agenda of any quid pro quo, getting anything back, I think it's good karma.
Yeah, help people without an agenda for the higher cosmic force, connect with the higher consciousness. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, MR, for this wonderful podcast. And I wish you come back again and share more thoughts on these lines. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vidya.